Well, good morning, everybody. Well, we've got a lot to catch up on. First thing we got to catch up on is there's this thing in the sky this morning. Some of the experts are reporting that it's the sun. It's something really bright. We haven't seen that in 4 days here in Florida. And forgive me, as soon as out of the gun here, we got some debris they're trying to clear because we've had severe weather and the trail I'm on is covered in debris. So just give me a second. I started in Stark this morning. We've had 4 days of severe weather in Florida here. And so my goal was to ride from Lake City in for final 3 days, and it just yesterday was severe thunderstorms, lots of lines of weather, and so my wife came out to Tallahassee this weekend, and just in order to this is a journey, so we try to be respectful and predictable for the folks at the finish, and we sent the notice out to Tuesday would be the finish because we got basically a good weather window Monday and Tuesday this week. So she dropped me in Stark last night, and I've been riding about an hour, and it's just as you can see, now I'm on the Palatka to Lake Butler Trail, and very familiar territory. I've ridden this many times, thanks to my good friends Paul and Dawn, who introduced me to this trail. And so it's one of the gems of riding here in Northeast Florida. And of course, on a Monday, it's virtually empty. So just beautiful riding. So we have a lot to catch up on. We are set to culminate this ride across America tomorrow. This ride to raise awareness for veterans affected by COVID-19. And it's just been an amazing journey. We kind of put it on your calendar tomorrow. We're going to go live about 11 a.m. Eastern, and we're going to live stream the last hour of the ride into St. Augustine Beach. Looks like we've got police escort when we get to the beach lined up. We've got community volunteers, friends on bikes, news media from our great partners at Wounded Warrior Project, who've been just amazing this whole journey, and for whom we are supporting as they provide a great support for our veterans. So just as I put out on social media this morning, the goal these last 2 days is just provide a recap of this ride across America. And before I do, though, I've got taking care of a little business. Of course, we've got John on the moderator this morning. Good morning, John. John's in my ear, as per always, and he's just done an amazing job keeping this squared away. I forgot to tell John in the lead up 10 minutes that we are likely to get raided tomorrow by Wounded Warrior Project, so they'll host or raid us around 11, so I would look forward to that. We've got, of course, Wounded Warrior Project, our partners. John, what's the total? I know we've, on the books or on the site, we've got, I think, about 22,000. 22,419. That's just amazing. I believe we've got a grant that's still, we're working through the system, so we can add 10,000 to that. And so, I mean, every dollar really is a win for veterans, and we're just delighted to be able to participate in this small way to support them as we've seen across this great country and met tremendous Americans, tremendous veterans, and their challenges that they've faced with COVID-19. After I crossed into Florida, rode into Crestview, connected with a great friend of mine and his wife, spent the night with them. They hosted me. It was just an amazing catch up. Again, we haven't seen each other probably in 20 years, pretty close to 20 years. Haven't seen his wife since the 90s. And it was like we just picked up where we left off. It was like we were neighbors, and that's just speaks to the culture of our great, speaks to the culture of our great military family, that the camaraderie that we have. And then just again, that's when the weather window started, just lots and lots of severe weather. And Vinny was generous, dropped me kind of, we did it, we'll call it what we did in the military, tail-to-tail exchange. That's a helicopter term. When you're kind of at the limit of your gas on one helicopter and you got to move a patient to another helicopter, you do the tail-to-tail transfer. And my wife showed up in Tallahassee, and so we spent the weekend waiting out the weather, which we thought was going to clear Sunday. It did not. So here I am Monday, but it's beautiful today. And so the last 2 days are, we'll call it kind of like what this is what the Tour de France does. The last stage of the 21-day Tour de France, 21 stage 4 Tour de France, is kind of ceremonial. It's definitely a sprint stage, sprint race, but the ride is ceremonial into Paris. And generally, usually always, they take transportation, either air or train, from the Alps or Pyrenees, wherever they are, and they take it into Paris and ride into Paris for 8 or 10 laps around the Champs-Élysées. And that's the ceremonial stage, so it's kind of what we're doing. Good morning. The ceremonial stage is kind of this ride around Paris, and then we're going to do that here, except in 2 days. So today is Stark to Palatka. Palatka sits right on the St. Johns River, and then Palatka into St. Augustine Beach. So both days, each 38 miles. I feel so good from taking 4 days off. I could easily ride the 78 miles or so, whatever it is, 76 miles today. But we're gonna, just to help people get organized around the finish, we're making this a 2-day event, 2-day celebration, and thanking everyone who supported this ride. And so with that, we're going to go to a recap. Although John, let's see, I think we got some folks in chat. We'll give John a chance to kick that off. Artist Susanna, thank you for your encouragement. Cheryl, thanks for the encouragement very much. Spudnik, that's my uncle, so great to see you here today, and yep, almost home. Good morning.
Hello.
So So the goal now is to get a kind of a start the recap of this ride across America and some of the highlights, and we'll say not so highlights, but opportunities for building resilience. It seems like just a long time ago, even though it was just the 1st of March, we started this journey, and really we were planning this, John, we were rehearsing some of the technology back in December, right? I mean, that was kind of where we were going. Yeah, John confirms. Good morning. We were rehearsing this back in December, just trying to get the technology to work. And December, January, even as late as February, just tweaking it. And I was making changes to the equipment. And I started the ride on March 1st with a combat load of, I would say, pretty close to 100 pounds, including the trailer and what's in the pack on the back. And we were, John, what was it? I mean, it was like we live streamed out of San Diego, and then we stopped that first live stream, and it was, I mean, once I let you guys go from the broadcast, it was literally uphill from there. And it took me 7.5 hours to go the total of 40 miles the first day. And I stayed at a campground, and I think the winds that night were blowing 30 miles an hour. The temperature dropped into the 40s. And I'm like, wow, this is gonna be a long ride. Honeymoon's over, first day. And the next day, John, do you remember, like, I think the next day I got off the bike to walk some of the climbs. Was that right? That was that second day, right? Yeah. Yeah, 100 pounds. I was like, whoa. So that was my clue. I'm like, whoa, way too heavy, way too heavy. And we dropped 5 pounds that next day, because when I only rode 12 miles that second day. It was just, I was already at my limit. And that was also wasn't that also the first interstate day we were riding? I think we were riding on the interstate that day. Yeah, and I got to, I forget which town, but they were forecasting rain the next day and mid-30s on the temperature. And I'm like, nope, we're gonna take a rest day. And I'll never forget, I was standing in the hotel room, my heart was racing, just standing there, because I'd done so much work the first couple of days. And I'm like, wow, this is monumental. And it took me every bit of what I thought was gonna take me 2 days, took me like 4 days to get over the San Diego mountains, San Diego County mountains. It's like unbelievably harder than I ever thought it would be. And down into the Imperial Valley. Looks like we've got some stuff in chat, so we'll stop there. John, you want to? Who is it? I blurred view. Okay, new follower. Thank you for joining. I see. I think that's Fragtor01. I think there's so many names. Like John's coached me that these are handles, and so I'm just trying to remember the associations with names. But I see the encouraging there, and so great. Howard, right. Thanks, Howard. So yeah, he's going to be there tomorrow. Ride it in. Yeah, you get credit. Hey man, whatever it takes, you get credit for riding across the U.S. It's awesome. You all are part of it. I'm just out here pedaling. Go ahead. Yep, so Sharon is saying stay safe. So the good news is most, if not just about all today, is on this surface out here on the trail, so that's great. Tomorrow a lot of it will be, except for that last stretch into A1A, but familiar territory to me. I've ridden it many times. So go ahead. Oh, Cheryl's asking how's the humidity. So you know, it's Florida, but it's springtime in Florida, so it's nice. It was humid the last few days because of the rain. Got a little break in it now. I think the high today's mid 80s, but it's very pleasant, very nice. Very, very nice. I call these no chain days. No chain days meaning feels like you're riding with no chain. It's easy to pedal. So much easier compared to some of the terrain that we've hit. I remember coming down the interstate in the Imperial Valley, and just some of the surface in the desert there in California was just very, very treacherous to ride. Very difficult. Difficult meaning lots of, I call them speed bumps, but there were buckles in the cement and the asphalt because of the extreme temperatures of the desert. And it was just like riding speed bumps for 20 miles every 10 feet. It was very difficult, especially with the heavy trailer. Also on the interstate. Those were the early days, and then into Winter Haven. Spent the night there in a campground and met some great people and really received encouraging words from Air Force veteran there. I remember his name's Dino. And then into Arizona. In Arizona, I laid everything. I got to the Army base in Arizona and laid everything out into 2 piles in terms of my equipment, essential and everything else. And everything else went home. So I was up to ditching a total of 18 pounds at that point, because I was at that time planning to ride the New Mexico mountains, which would have taken me up to over 8,000 feet, and just didn't feel confident to be able to negotiate that terrain with that kind of weight based on what I'd gone through so far. So we basically were down to about 85 pounds total at that point. You know, because water's heavy, so on any given day you're full of water, and then kind of work your way through the water as the day goes. And because out there, you know, there's not a lot of convenience stores, so you pretty much have to start the day with at least a gallon of water on board. That was kind of the common theme. One of my biggest memories was went 2 days out west without seeing a stoplight. Something that we just would think unconscionable here on the East Coast. I think I've seen a dozen so far this morning. It seems like this morning. So we were riding into Superior, Arizona, and my Warm Showers hosts were just very generous, and they cautioned me. Again, I had to take a down day there because there was ice in the higher elevations, ice storm, snowstorm. For those of you who don't know, I mean, out west there was a pretty bad winter this year. Very cold, lots of severe weather out there, high winds, really high winds, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we had a good chat about, she's like, look, and it was funny because I've always considered myself somewhat of an athlete, and she's like, yeah, are you going up over the New Mexico mountains? I said, yeah, that's the plan. She's like, nah, you're over 50 and you're riding alone. And I always caution people not to do that if they're riding alone, because it's She goes, it's going to be in the low 20s up there at those elevations. And with my aviation background, I know this. We were, it's standard lapse rate of temperature to elevation is about 3 degrees per 1,000, and starting in the 40s, it doesn't take long to get to 20 something. And so we had a chat about it. She goes, your alternate would be to go straight across in New Mexico. When you get to Lordsburg, you could take I-10, which is also US 70. And wow, that hawk just went by. That was pretty. That's nice. She goes, you could take US 70 and ride the interstate into Deming and Las Cruces. And I started doing the recons even as early as Superior, Arizona. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's going to be the plan. So we got there, got to Lordsburg. Sorry, we got to, forget the town, the name of the town. It was on the Arizona-New Mexico border. I do remember I basically rode a day and a half, 2 days, feeling like I was in an episode of Gunsmoke. It was really like that remote of Arizona. Beautiful country out there. And so Greg's asked, I see the chat, John. Greg's asking, where am I now? I'm passing Florahome, or getting close to go to Florahome, Florida. We'll end in Palatka today. And then tomorrow, St. Augustine Beach. I've been riding a bike competitively for 20 plus years now, about 22 years. And, well, I wouldn't say this is competitive, but seriously, I would say. And early days was competitively with Ironman and bike racing. And it was by far the worst day or most dangerous day I've had on a bike in Arizona. It was in New Mexico. 40-mile-an-hour tailwinds, and it was 4 flats. The debris, which I've noticed is a common theme across America, is the amount of debris in the shoulder lanes is just higher than I could have possibly imagined. And it's everything you could think of. I've seen syringes that I've lost count of the number of syringes, speaking to the opioid epidemic that we have in this country. Nails, screws, rocks, obviously boulders, debris from the steel belt radials from trucks, which form what looks like a staple, which basically shreds your tires. And had 4 flats that day, and 40-mile-an-hour winds. The temperature was plummeting that night to 28 degrees, and I was 2 hours from sunset after trying to deal with all those flats. And of course, by that time I had front and rear flat and 1 rear flat on the trailer, so I was dead in water. Called my wife. She was my angel, saved the day. Called a tow truck. Tow truck took me to Deming, Arizona, which of course they don't have a bike shop, they don't have a taxi, they don't have Uber. Good morning. They don't have really any transportation to get you anywhere, but had a business card at the front desk of the hotel. It was a veteran-owned car service, and just had a great next day from an amazing veteran who took me into Las Cruces, and the Las Cruces bike shop, knew exactly what the issue was, got me back on the road with tires that were basically bomb-proof out west, that would take care of all the debris, and they call them goat heads out there. And Knock on wood, I'm not finished yet, but I'm still riding those same tires, same tubes with no flats since La Cruces, New Mexico. So that speaks to their expertise. Thankful for that. So those are the main highlights today. I don't want to cover them all because we'll have anything to talk about tomorrow. So it was one question for tomorrow. So we're finishing at shooting for hitting Beach Boulevard around noon Eastern time. We're going to start live streaming about 11 a.m. Eastern time and stream the last hour of the ride, so you get to see one of the rides I typically take out on the weekends, and we'll take it on in along A1A along the Beach Boulevard and on into the finish at the St. Augustine Beach Pier. And Howard, maybe I'll just volunteer you now, if he's still on, to take control of my bike so I can walk ahead of it, and we'll walk the bike out to the beach and put the front wheel into the water and call it the mission complete at that point. So I'm looking forward to catching up with all the family, friends again tomorrow, so we finish this ride across America. So I'm going to pause there. I've been talking a lot. As you can see on this trail, it's amazing. There's very few people out. It's a beautiful trail. And how's the stream quality, John? I've been forgetting to ask. I've just been talking. John, you still there? Or are you on mute? Or okay. Okay, so. Okay. Yeah, it's, I'm out in, well, I've got 8,200 right now, so, all right. Yeah, there's a lot of, we call it dappled sunlight here. It's not bright and it's not shaded. Believe me, it's bugging me too. And of course I'm heading east and we're getting a lot of the east sun. So anyway, the last 2 days here, and I'm just pedaling along, soft pedaling along basically. So Peter's amazing. He's our resident English humorist. So I would expect nothing less. He must be feeling good today. You're right, Peter. I think it's good. I think you get your time trial bike. I'll get mine out, and we'll do a 40K time trial. We'll go down to Sebastian Inlet and back. I'll even give you a 5-minute head start. Pretty cool. Yeah. Let me talk a little about, John noticed the squirrel. Yeah, so I've seen that, when I ride trails like this, I used to ride them in DC all the time when I was stationed up there, and ride them out to Purcellville, the WNOD trail, and before it got immensely populated, I could ride 100 miles from my house in Old Town to Purcellville and back, and you get to some of these remote parts of the trail, squirrels and also rabbits. Maybe they get like attracted by the movement of the bike and they want to play chicken with you. And I feel like the best thing to do is just keep your pace and they'll avoid you, which he did. If you try to like swerve, you end up hitting them. So I just keep riding straight and they'll avoid you, which he did. Wow, we've gotten a lot of rain. This water area, which water lilies are beautiful. is usually not this full. The summertime, it's basically, I won't say dry, but water level is much lower usually. So Peter's like 40K time trial, a few weeks. But Peter's going to measure that time in weeks. That was a joke I made this weekend. Somebody was asking me about Ironman. Well, like, what was your time? I said a day. It takes a day to do the Ironman. Speaking of what? Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, that's amazing. I did see John's talking about there was a rider, or actually an athlete with autism that finished Ironman. And I did see some news on that. I'm going to go back and check out the full story. But, you know, there's just, like, I'm just another person out here. There's amazing stories of people doing things. And I guess that's kind of the theme of this is, just to encourage everyone. Everyone has their level of hard. You know, hard may be walking to the mailbox. Hard may be a 5K. You know, just coming out of this pandemic. You know, I've ridden coast to coast and seen varying levels of you know, Americans doing great things, and I would just encourage everyone to pick a goal and find something that stretch goal for you and set it on the calendar and go after it. It's very rewarding to, and it can be, you know, something that everybody's level is hard, right? You know, everybody has their own limit. Pick something at just on the edge of your limit there and go after it. That would be my recommendation at this point for everybody. So for the St. Augustine crew, we're looks like Wounded Warrior Project, our partners, are doing, again, the great work that they've done all along this journey, are organizing media tomorrow. So we should have Jacksonville media. Of course, the first question they're going to ask me, we didn't expect you for another month. What are you doing here so early? So yeah, this has been, I hate to use a golf analogy, but you know, the Masters was yesterday. So we say in golf, like, you have to take what the course gives you, and that was no exception here. I had to kind of take what the course was giving me and had to adapt to the battlefield, so to speak. In West Texas, we had 100-mile-an-hour winds. I'll talk more about some highlights tomorrow on our ride, but I'll talk about the 118-mile day in Arizona. That was amazing. We'll talk about that tomorrow. You have to take what the course gives you, and West Texas was going to be untenable given the meteorological conditions we had there at that time, and just wasn't going to be feasible. So besides, now I can actually call this Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And for you younger viewers, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was like a movie from the 80s. So you can Google that. There's a reference. Yeah, John's like, yeah, John Candy. I was like, yeah, that's right. But that's this trip. Now I can actually say it was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. They rode Amtrak from El Paso to Austin. Good morning. So, wow, this has been a fast stream, John. Let's talk about the most painful stream. The most painful stream was in Bastrop State Park, Texas. Remember that one, John? When we were doing those I'll call them Ardennes reference to Belgium. Ardennes-like climbs, short, very steep climbs through the park. Remember those? I couldn't even spell my name at the top of those climbs. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was doing the mailman. John remembered. I was doing the mailman going back and forth, trying to get up those climbs. This is like no chain here. This is just a easy ride. Oh, by the way, so in New Orleans, I made reference to it on one of the other streams, but worth noting here, just it was Easter weekend, Good Friday, sent a text to a friend of mine, haven't seen him in 5 years, 4 or 5 years anyway, and I was passing north of New Orleans, Navy veteran. Hey Joe, just letting you know, out of courtesy, I'm passing north, just saying hi. And we talked on the phone. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, we're coming to get you. And he drove 70 miles one way to come get me. Amazing guy. He and his wife came up, and I spent Easter weekend with them. What a tribute to military camaraderie, friendship. Think about that. What were you doing on Easter weekend? What would you do if somebody just out of the blue texts you and says hi? And I had no expectation. I was just saying hi. And he said, nope, we're coming to get you. And that was amazing. That was really amazing. So many highlights on this trip. Very humbling, very, very, very humbling. Just to be able to participate in this. This stretch here is by far, by a factor of 100, the least stressful of the ride so far. This is nice. I had written blogs of the ride across America of people who consistently were, and I ride this a lot. You know, this is home turf for me, this stretch here. And consistently we're writing that the trails in Florida were by far the best part of the ride. And I'm like, really? Like, are you kidding me? I was thinking, you know, oh no, it's gonna be great to be out west and riding through the desert, and that's gonna be beautiful. And it was beautiful, but it was, you know, you're on the edge of your seat. I was literally, you know, 360 view in my alertness, just trying to make sure everything was safe, you know, stopping here, roll through. So anyway, the rest of the story, in New Orleans, I let another 20 pounds go. I let my camping gear go because I knew spring storms, and by the time you get to New Orleans, and he took me into Mississippi on Easter morning, so riding the Gulf Coast through Gulfport and Biloxi and Pascagoula and down into Dauphin Island, taking the ferry. I mean, you're getting pretty populated at that point, so it was easy to let the camping gear go. So there's that. I really like this part of Florida. It's just really kind of old Florida. It's pretty. This is one of those rails to trails. I think this stretch that I'm riding is, I want to say 30 miles. No. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the length of this one. Good morning. This stretch is 25 or something. 25 or 30. Couldn't be, well, yeah, because it was maybe 28, because I started in Stark, and it's a 38-mile day, and I get to the Palatka Airport, and it's like my hotel's a mile down the road. So I have another cool opportunity after this stream is over. Our church is part of the organizing the homecoming, and so one of our pastors is They have a group this morning that's meeting, and we're going to do a FaceTime here in about an hour from now. So that's going to be cool. He and I did a video before I left. Hopefully I'm not doing a spoiler alert. Maybe some of them may be watching, I don't know, but he's going to show the video, and then we're going to cut to live FaceTime, so that's pretty cool. Oh, John's telling me that the video is distorted. Yeah, this is still part of remote Florida here, and although I'm paralleling 100, Flora Home and Putnam and a lot of these little towns out here, they're just kind of remote areas. We're still quite a ways from Jacksonville and St. Augustine and bigger areas. Yeah, it looks like it's dropping off now, John. You still there? Yeah. Yeah, we're getting down to 3,000 range, so I mean, we can hang on a little bit, see how it goes, but I know the video's starting to jumble up, folks, and apologize because it is getting remote. I mean, we can wrap it up, John, because we've been going quite a ways, so. Okay, yeah, Drake's asking. Drake, I would encourage you to just hit replay from the beginning, but tomorrow, arriving at noon Eastern at the pier. So, on or about. I expect to get to Publix around noonish, and should be there. So that's that. We'll have a happy hour just for you, Drake, at tomorrow night, I guess. Go ahead, John. Okay, yeah. So just a reminder, we're gonna start live streaming at 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Be the culmination ride. I'll be coming in 206 Bridge to A1A into St. Augustine Beach for the finish. So looking forward to that. And we'll have the ceremonial dipping of the front wheel into the Atlantic Ocean, like we did the tail wheel into the Pacific. So, good morning. So that's that. Again, getting kind of remote here, so we'll let the video go for today, and we'll catch you tomorrow at 11. We should have a good live stream tomorrow because we'll be approaching the beach. So. All right, John, over to you for signing this off here.